Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. I think it's time. We need to talk about Sean McVay. Look, McVay is on paper one of the better coaches in football, and I think most people would agree with that. He's an offensive guru who gave the Rams credibility after one of their worst periods for any team in NFL history from the mid-2000s to the mid-2010s, when they were an irrelevant franchise. He guided them to a Super Bowl and has won over 60% of his games as a head coach, as with the exception of last year, the Rams have had a winning record every year and have been one of the gold standard franchises on the field under his watch. But man, his in-game management this season has been absolutely abysmal. Like, ridiculously abysmal. I thought I was done talking about it after last week's Dumb Decisions video I made from the game against the 49ers, when he drew up one of the worst possible plays in a 2-minute drill situation. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And he followed that up with, well, whatever the heck this game was against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's been a rough start to the year for the Rams, as they've lost back-to-back games and find themselves at 1-2, with an offensive line that is getting Matthew Stafford killed, no running game to speak of, and a defense that can't force takeaways if their life depended on it. But McVay, as a head coach, is not exactly helping matters much with some of his asinine decisions during the games themselves, and that was never more apparent than it was in the team's 19-16 loss last night to the Bengals on Monday Night Football. None of these decisions by themselves rise to the level of a dumb decision, in the same vein as Josh, we needed 2 scores down by 8 points McDaniels, and John, I didn't know how much time was on the clock Harbaugh. But there were 3 moments in particular that just exhibited how poor of a game he coached. I did a video like this last year when I criticized Mike Tomlin for his cumulative coaching after a Thursday Night Football loss, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And I'm going to do the same thing here with Sean McVay with 3 absolutely abysmal decisions that he made, going in chronological order. All of these decisions, mind you, came in the second half, right when they needed him to step up the most. The first instance comes in the third quarter, with the Rams now trailing by a score of 16-9. After a 3rd and 1 play gets called back due to a 15-yard face mask penalty, the Rams are faced with 3rd and 16 at their own 19-yard line. And this is the play that they draw up.
Just hand it off. Sam Hubbard.
Seriously. A running play on 3rd and 16 that obviously comes nowhere close to picking up the first down. What's the logic in running on 3rd and super long? Usually, it's twofold. Number 1, getting a first down in that spot would be almost impossible, so there's no reason to risk it and try something stupid. Just get out of there and punt the ball away. Or number 2, you're pinned pretty deep, and it would be a tough spot for your punter from back there. So you just need some yards and need to get some breathing room so that your punter has time to get a good punt off and doesn't have to rush things. But neither of those things applied here. First off, 3rd and 16 is absolutely a doable situation. You've gone deep before on this Bengals secondary. Heck, the very last drive before this, Stafford hit Van Jefferson for a gain of 46 yards. I'm not saying that 3rd and 16 is going to be easy to pick up. Trust me, I completely get it. But it's not to the point where you just call a run and surrender. If you call a run, you're not getting the first down. Call a pass, and you absolutely could, even if it's via penalty with a pass interference or a hands to the face or anything along those lines. And the second thing with that is that it's not like you need to give your punter, Ethan Evans, a ton of breathing room. You're at the 19-yard line. Even if you take a sack here and Stafford goes down, let's say it's a loss of 7 yards like most sacks are. Alright, you're punting from the 12-yard line. the punter typically stands about 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Evans still has plenty of room to get the punt off, so the breathing room reason doesn't apply at all. It wasn't a long enough situation where you have to surrender, a la 3rd and 40 or something like that, and it wasn't pinned back enough where you need to get positive yardage no matter what. But what makes this all the more baffling is that McVay defied his own logic and consistency on the very next drive. On the next drive, you've got a 3rd and 19 situation at your own 12-yard line. This is not just a further distance than you were last time to get the first down marker, but this is further back on the field. On 3rd and 16, you were at the 19-yard line and called a run. Here, on 3rd and 19 at the 12-yard line, it actually makes sense to call a run, especially with your previous logic. It's a 7-point game, and your defense is playing well. You need to make sure that Ethan Evans has some breathing room on the inevitable punt so that he doesn't have to get it off quickly, and the Gunners can get down the field in time to make the play. Otherwise, the Bengals are starting the drive in likely field goal range to make it a 2-score game. And here, on 3rd and 19, knowing how bad your offensive line has been at protecting Stafford, even so much as allowing a sack on the previous play before this, you call a passing play. Sure enough, Stafford gets sacked, to the surprise of no one, and Evans has to punt with no breathing room whatsoever, and the Bengals, as a result, start the drive in field goal territory because they get a good return. Who could have seen that coming at all? Again, what makes this make no sense in my mind is the inconsistency in the logic. On 3rd and 16 with plenty of breathing room, you called a running play because you wanted positive yardage and you wanted to give your punter space to punt. And on 3rd and 19, so an even worse spot, with no breathing room if you got the sack, and your special teams unit being pinned inside their own end zone if you take a sack, you call a passing play? This is like if I was playing Jeopardy, and the category was the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I got the daily double, and I wager $500 just to play it safe, even though I clearly know this topic. Then, the very next question, since I have control of the board, I get the other daily double, and the category is 12th century art, and I wager everything I have, making it a true daily double. There's no logic in that. It's so inconsistent with everything I've done and everything I believe in. And that's what happened with McVay here. If you run on 3rd and 16 when you have room and throw on 3rd and 19 when you don't have room, it's bafflingly inconsistent to a frustrating point. But the real thing that got me, and the thing that inspired me to make this video, was what happened at the very end of the game. And this isn't something in hindsight whatsoever. I was streaming the game, providing live play-by-play and commentary on the action like I do every Monday night. And I was yelling at McVay to do this in real time. And sure enough, he did not do it. It's a 19-9 ball game, since you allowed 3 more points after giving them great field position because of your stupidity and inconsistency with the 3rd and 19 passing play. At this point, if you're the Rams, you need to get 2 scores. It's that simple. You need 2 scores in about 2.5 minutes. The problem is that you only have 1 timeout. We all know that an onside kick is an incredibly low percentage play, especially with the recent rule changes. If you have to rely on recovering an onside kick, odds are your chances of winning are pretty slim. No onside kick has been recovered yet in 2023, and last year, only 3 out of 56 onside kicks were successful, or right around 5%. It is a super low percentage play, and is so low percentage that not only have Sean McVay's Rams never recovered one since he took over as a head coach in 2017, but the last time the Rams got an onside kick to go their way, they were still playing in St. Louis. And this means that at this point, you have to rely on the clock. The bad news is that you only have 1 timeout left, and that's it, because you use them on some pre-snap things. However, you do have a second timeout left with a 2-minute warning. It is absolutely imperative that you score before the 2-minute warning. Again, You have to get 2 scores no matter what. You need the touchdown and the field goal. It does not matter what the order is. If the Bengals touch the ball again past the 2-minute warning, if you don't score before then, the game is over. The Rams had 1st and 10 at the 32-yard line with 2:21 left on the clock. Let's say you kick the field goal right then and there. You spike the ball on 1st down to stop the clock, and then you line up for the 49-yard try. If you make the kick, there's about 2:15 left on the clock. Now, you essentially have 2 timeouts. What does that mean? It means you don't have to rely on an onside kick to win the game. It means that you can kick it off deep to the Bengals, try and get a 3 and out, and you'll get the ball back. Your odds of winning aren't great, but think of it like this. First play the Bengals run after the kickoff, and you call timeout right after that. Takes it down to 2:10. Second play the Bengals run after the kickoff, and it goes down to the 2-minute warning. Third play the Bengals run after the kickoff, and if you get the stop, let's say the play takes 5 seconds. Now, with the 40-second play clock afterwards, the Bengals punt it back to you with 1:15 left on the clock. You have approximately 65 seconds to drive 70 or so yards down the field and get the touchdown. Again, not likely, but you've got to get 2 scores regardless. You need a touchdown and a field goal. The important thing is that you score before the 2-minute warning, so you have a chance at that second possession and have that extra timeout and don't have to rely on an onside kick. Because if you don't do that, and the Bengals get the ball back, since you only have 1 timeout left, the game is over. And if you're saying that it would be too long of a kick to try from 49 yards out on a play like that, come on. It's the NFL. If you don't trust your kicker to hit on a perfect night from inside 50 yards, you shouldn't have that kicker on your team. And that is an indictment on you. Instead, the Rams do not do that. Despite everything I just said, even though the order in which you get the 2 scores of a field goal and touchdown is not important at all, McVay has the Rams call another play on offense. And what do you know? Stafford gets sacked, the Rams have to take it to the 2-minute warning, and even though the Rams get a touchdown later in the drive, they have to rely on recovering an onside kick to have any chance at winning, which, shocker, does not work out. Had you spiked the ball on 1st down and tried the field goal on 2nd down, you wouldn't have had to do that. You wouldn't have had to rely on a play that works 5% of the time and hasn't worked yet in this young season. You would have had time to try and force a 3 and out and get the ball back with time on the clock. But nope, you wanted the touchdown first instead of worrying about the most important element of the equation, the clock. And man, did it backfire. On the final 4 drives of the game, McVay's bizarre surrendering cost them their 4th-to-last drive, his inconsistency and terrible call on 3rd down cost them their 3rd-to-last drive, and gave the Bengals prime field position to make it a 2-score game, and his horrible in-game and clock management cost them their final drive, as even though they scored a touchdown, the touchdown doesn't mean anything if you're down by 2 scores, don't score before the 2-minute warning, and have to rely on a low-percentage play like an onside kick, especially when something like that was easily preventable. I have to ask this. Is Sean McVay losing a step? I mean, some of these in-game management decisions over the last few weeks are just inexcusable. The Rams lost this game by shooting themselves in the foot with self-inflicted wounds, and Sean McVay's poor coaching in-game was a big reason for that. It's weird because Sean McVay, for a good chunk of his career, was always a coach that seemed 1 or 2 steps ahead of everyone else when it came to managing things. But now, it's almost like he's a bit of a hindrance. I mean, that second half against the Bengals was truly and utterly shocking. Again, do any of these decisions by themselves rise to the level of a trademark dumb decision? Probably not. But combined, oh man, did McVay have one of the worst coaching performances of the year, and one of the worst coach halves I've seen in recent memory. Between his inconsistency with his philosophy, where he did the thing he should have done on the previous drive on the wrong drive, and did the thing he shouldn't have done on the previous drive on the wrong drive, and his awful clock management down by 2 scores by not realizing that you had to score before the 2-minute warning, this game falls squarely on McVay's shoulders. Because in this Super Bowl 56 rematch, the Bengals got the better of McVay and the Rams for sure. On this night, there's no two ways around it. Sean McVay coached an awful game. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.